end it like that. Oops, I've just given somebody the V's there by an accident. Sorry, she scowled at me. Cupra Terramar, let's do it. Cupra, bit confusing, right? With its badge that looks a bit like that tattoo that you woke up with one morning in Benidorm. And wasn't Cupra like a trim level for Seats or something? Yeah, sort of, but it was more like a badge that Seat put on the fastest, fanciest versions of its cars. Like a Volkswagen with a GTI badge on it, or a Sainsbury's lasagna with Jamie Oliver's face on it. But a few years ago, it became a standalone brand. And then more recently, Volkswagen, they own Seat and Cupra, essentially killed Seat off by saying this. Basically, Seat was supposed to be the youthy, hip, sporty brand because it was from Spain and it was all hip and not like Skoda, but it made cars like this. Whereas Cupra makes cars like this. As an aside, it should totally be Cupra because it stands for Cup Racing. It's not Coupe Racing, like racing a chicken's house. Yeah, look at this thing. Have you ever seen so much styling this side of a Lamborghini? It's a cacophony of shapes and creases and bulges and slashes and slats and stuff. And it's the same on the inside. It has more types of plastic in it than Katie Price, and the dashboard has more layers than a Big Mac. And the thing is, strip all that stuff away and the Terramar is basically one of these, or one of these. But don't worry, it's okay, because as anybody who's watched Snog, Marry, Avoid will tell you, a little bit of styling makes a big difference. And I know this seems obvious to say because you can kind of apply to all cars really, but how you feel about the styling will really determine how you feel about this car overall. It either adds character or it adds nonsense. You decide. So let's look at what it is and why it's so good. Firstly, the Volkswagen roots mean it's basically a very sensible family SUV type thing. It's spacious front and back, it has a pretty substantial boot hole, and its 3 engines all cater to something or someone different. Unless you want a fully electric version. There isn't one of those. They're all automatic and they start with a small, sensible and economical petrol engine that keeps the monthly payment down and the running costs low. Then there's a 2-litre petrol engine that in both cases makes the car almost as quick as it looks. We'll come to that. And there's a plug-in hybrid for company car drivers that don't like paying too much tax, which is all of them, I suppose. But as ever, standard rules of a plug-in hybrid apply. So Seat, it's not Seat, it's Cupra, Mark. So Cupra reckons this will do 72 miles of electric-only driving and return overall 684 miles per gallon.
You serious?
Really, it'll do about 60-40, as in 60 miles per gallon and 40 electric-only miles. Now, I know that that's way, way away from the claim, but it's still kind of good actually, isn't it, when you think about it, for a big, fat family crossover. The reason that these things have such stupid numbers is because the WLTP fuel test is based in a lab. And we know why they do that. It's because then everything's consistent, but it just gives you these like really stupid figures, doesn't it? But whichever one you choose, you do get a lot of stuff. Here's a basic one called V1. Now, to be honest, there's really no such thing as a badly equipped car anymore. Well, apart from maybe this. But as you can see, a Terramar V1 is packed with stuff. So you don't really need a higher trim level, but V2 is a canny upgrade. Mainly because a head-up display and a warm backside, nice. And if you're wondering what VZ means, the Z stands for sporty, must be Spanish or something. It includes fancy adaptable suspension and seats in deep burgundy.
Oh, it's so deep.
That's right. Oh, and the stereo upgrade is worth mentioning. It's far from the best sounding car stereo in the world, but what it lacks in aural sophistication, it more than makes up for with
big, dirty, stinking bass. Dirty, stinking bass.
Which I guess is a deliberate decision on Cupra's part, because again, Cupra is a brand for young people. And what are the kids like? No.
Big, dirty, stinking bass.
Yes, that. And generally, it is quite clear when you drive this thing that Cupra was told by the big Volkswagen group that it was allowed to make this car feel all youthy and a bit mad and fun. So this particular car is a VZ2 with the most powerful 2-litre engine. That of course makes a difference to how it drives. This is supposed to be the most fun Terramar to drive. But actually, the vast majority of this car's characteristics apply to all Terramars. And I'd argue that the fastest Terramar isn't even the best one. So yeah, it is pretty interesting to drive as far as fat family SUVs go. So the good stuff. There's not a lot of body roll and the steering is pretty direct, so it feels sharp. There is a bit of body roll obviously, but You're going to get that on you in a car that's this tall. And also, because this is a top-of-the-range Terramar, it's got adaptive suspension, which means that you can press a button here and it'll make the car a bit harder, a bit firmer on the road. But it is, you've probably gathered, nowhere near a sports car and nowhere near the junior Lamborghini Urus that Cupra probably wants you to think that it is. However, press this Cupra button and you also get digital combustion augmentation. Yeah, it's fake engine sound piped through the speakers. But check out the before and afters. Right, listen to this. It's better, innit? Now the good thing is, if you don't press that button and the car's just in normal mode, it is generally very comfortable. And it's even more comfortable if you have a Terramar that's further down the range with just normal suspension and normal sized wheels. This is on like 20s with quite thin tyres and that makes it feel a bit rumbly. With the way this whole car is, it would have been very easy for Cupra to jack up the suspension and make the steering all firm and generally try and make it sporty, and in doing so, just make it horrific. They've got the balance of this thing generally right. Solid fundamentals, good driving position, good visibility, easy to operate, nice family car that looks a bit mental. And as far as navigation systems without any physical buttons go, this is probably the best one you'll use, or it's definitely one of the best ones you'll use. You'd be amazed at how many of these massive screens now are powered by useless software, like they were designed by people who'd never held a smartphone in their entire lives. But this one, it actually feels like they've given it to a lot of teenagers who are constantly tethered to their mobile phones and said, you tell us how this should work. So every now and again, you might feel like you've got one or two more button presses to do than you need. But the thing is, everything's just really obvious. Even these little haptic sliders at the bottom here are dead good. But there are a couple of things that this car does that are less than ideal. Yeah, it's a bit lurchy. It's like they've tried to make it feel all quick and dynamic when you're driving it at low speed. So they've made the throttle really sensitive. So when you just tap it, car goes like that. So what that means is quite often maneuvering it smoothly is a bit tricky, a bit annoying. But I reckon it's not as pronounced in other versions of the Terramar that aren't as racy as this particular one. And that's one of the reasons why I would say that you do not need this engine in this car unless you really need the four-wheel drive system that comes with it too, which, let's face it, you probably don't. If you want a bit more traction when it's like snowy and that, get some winter tyres. And the other thing I'd say to watch out for is the seats. So it's got these really lovely looking racing chairs, but they just don't suit me. I did 300 miles in this yesterday. I took my daughter to see Drake in Manchester. And well, how do I put this? Oh, I know.
Ever since I left the city,
So you do need to drive this thing and make sure that the seats are going to work for you. Other than that, it was great, right? Dead settled on the motorway, dead quiet, bass for days. Anyways, let's look at what else you could get. You could get another Cupra if you want, because they do like 3 other SUVs that are basically the same size and shape as this, ostensibly. I know, right? The Peugeot 3008 is just as interesting as this while being a little bit less daft. It doesn't feel quite as well built as this, but there is a fully electric version, which is brilliant, the best one. And of course, the Tesla Model Y. It's got more space than the Cupra, it's more interesting and more futuristic, but it's a bit obvious now, right? Or finally, of course, you could get one of the Volkswagen ones. The Skoda's the best one, in my opinion. Dead practical, dead high quality, no nonsense. But if nonsense is your particular vibe, then look no further than this. A car that is full of it, but can also thankfully back it up by being fundamentally brilliant. Just a really good family car. Not a cheap one, but a very good value one. So there you go, we're done. Thanks for watching. If you want to lease one of these or anything else, do it at Leasing Options. There's a link below. Great deals there, and I'll see you next time. Bye! Fun fact, Terramar actually means land and sea in Spanish. That's right, I know how to Google stuff. So I checked out whether that is true, literally, because that would be good, wouldn't it? And
This is what Raymond James saw Saturday.